Hey, everybody out there in the hobby world. This is Ben Wilson at Ourtradingcards. I wanted to start a new podcast really to kind of help newer collectors. I don't really want to leave a lot of opinion in this podcast. A lot of it's just going to be straight uh, facts and information as I have found and learned myself over the years of collecting. Obviously, there's plenty of room for interpretation, and some of it would be a little bit biased, but I'm going to try to do my best to be as objective and unbiased as possible as I share this information. I'm a co host of two of the hobby's uh, leading podcasts, and as a result, I've learned a lot and been able to have a lot of fellow collectors reach out for advice and opinions, and a lot of fun information has been shared and learned over the years. And I find a common thread when people come back into the hobby, or if they're just finding the hobby for the first time, is what do I collect? How do I define my PC? And it's a very common question. And to be 100% honest with you, it's a question that not everybody has a straight line answer for. And even those that do have an answer, uh, it's an ever changing quest. I would like to think, and in my experience of meeting fellow collectors, whether it's through in person or through social media such as Twitter, through the podcast, um, that I probably have one of the most defined and specific PCs that I've come across. For anybody that knows me, knows that I'm a super A's collector. That I want to collect every base and insert, dating back to the Philadelphia A's days of around 1909 is when my PC starts, all the way through current, and then any parallels and hits I consider one offs and bonuses. But I really want to have all of those team sets and individual base and insert cards. And I find myself questioning my PC all the time. Do I draw back from current releases as they come out every week, every day, with all the on-demand releases that we've seen in the hobby? And it just seems like those are coming more and more frequently, oftentimes unannounced. And if I was to draw back from that, I could refocus my resources, my time, my efforts, my finances on collecting some of the stuff from uh, pre-current. I would say mid 90s to 2009 is where I've got a major gap in my personal collection, and I would love to do that. But at the same time, I find myself on eBay searching for stuff that just came out today, so to speak. And having said that, we find ourselves questioning: do we want to collect this? Do we want to collect that? The theory of FOMO has kind of come up in recent years, which is FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. And we all kind of find ourselves chasing our tails in that regard. Bowman Chrome comes out, oh, I've got to have this and that because the industry suggests, you know, if I miss out on this or that, the bus is going to leave the terminal and I'm going to be left, sitting on the bench. I didn't get mine. And although that's a very real and a very common thread amongst collectors, myself included, you really have to have discipline, and that's not an easy thing because we're kind of predisposed to want it all, right? For anybody who started collecting in the 80s, what is now often coined as the junk wax era, we really can kind of look back and see we could collect it all. There was a top set and a Fleer set and a Donruss set. By 1988, along came Score. 89 introduced the Upper Deck. 91 came Leaf. So at any given point in time, you'd have 3 to 6 different complete sets you would have to chase. Cards were relatively inexpensive. Boxes cost, what, $20 or so, back in 88, 89. You can get stuff for 25, 50 cents a pack. I'm sure you had your secondary one-offs, your O-Peaches and your Leafs and things. There were other things to collect. And if you collected back then, you were very familiar with the old 33 and 44 card sets that Topps and Fleer had produced that you could find at your local KB and Woolworths and Revco. And And these different sets were very common to find and oftentimes duplicated one another. They were sluggers versus pitchers, and it was always the same group of sluggers and pitchers in every set, just with maybe a different photo and, of course, a different border. And they were pre-sealed, and they were like $5 or $6 a piece at the counter. And but you could get just about anything you wanted. And my personal story had me coming back into the hobby around 2010, realizing I can't collect it all. I thought I could. And God forbid if you wanted to collect more than one sport, you definitely weren't going to be able to collect everything, because now you did have autos and relics and parallels and serial numbered cards, and it was just a night and day experience to where I had to sit down with my local card shop owner and say, explain to me the 2010 hobby, because I'm still stuck in my mind back in 1992. And it can be extremely overwhelming to the point where even experienced collectors start to experience hobby fatigue as new products come out. And it's very difficult over a course of time to really, devote your full attention and be disciplined to a specific PC. So having said that, whenever I get approached with the question of what do I buy, what should I collect, what should I PC, the first thing that I always recommend is you have to find what you want to collect most, not what the hobby suggests, because right now, as I record this, it could be Bowman Blasters and Bowman Mega and Mosaic Basketball and all of these other hot products as of June of 2020 when I'm recording this. But that's going to change next month and the next month and the next month, and maybe that's not going to be something for you. So I'm going to use myself as an example of how I define my PC personally. And hopefully, if you did find this video found you. Maybe you find yourself either having questioned it, currently questioning it, or questioning it all the time, which is exceedingly common. And whenever I look at something, I ask myself two questions, and it's the same question, just kind of slightly altered. The first question is, if I don't buy this item, is my hobby incomplete without it? For instance, right now, as of this recording, Bowman just came out, and there's a lot of Bowman auto cards that are extremely high in price on the secondary market for players that may or may not ever pan out. Is it worth spending X for a guy who may or may not make the majors, and if he does, might be a relief pitcher that bounces around the league? Is my personal PC, is Ben's PC incomplete without a Bowman Hogan Harris auto? I don't know. I don't know much about Hogan Harris. He's in the lower levels of the A's minor league system. Yeah, I don't think it's incomplete without it. And I've said this all along. If Hogan Harris ever decided, if his talent got him to the major league level, I would much rather pay current market worth when he hits the majors than I would overpaying right now, and he might fizzle out and be the next, Joe Smith that nobody ever heard of. I mean, it's very common, especially with the uncertainty around the sport right now. So that's the first question. Is my PC incomplete without this card or this group of cards? The second question, which is very similar, is I ask myself, is my PC that much better, just a little bit better, with this card or group of cards included? And if I say yes, then I'm going to lean towards purchasing that card or group of cards. So you do need to kind of identify with yourself those two questions. I think those are a good foundation to start. But I think even before you get there, you really need to decide a few things. And it's going to be different for all of us, is you really have to understand your budget. You really need to know how much money you have to spend and how much money each month, each year you can allocate towards the hobby. And sure, there are going to be different things that come up, like card shows. And of course, if you decide to go to the national convention, which happens once per year, then you can always extend that a little bit. Maybe you get a bonus at work or do some side work or sell something on eBay. and you get some extra money, that's fine. But just out of your monthly budget, you really need to decide how much money can I devote to the hobby without putting myself in a financial hardship. Once you've identified that, you got to decide what teams do you like, what sports do you like, and do you need to collect cards of those sports? I absolutely love the San Antonio Spurs, but I don't have very many of their cards in my PC because basketball cards just doesn't excite me personally. And the same could be said for any number of you out there listening to this. Maybe something does or doesn't excite you. I'm not a big fan of football cards either, despite being, a lifelong Oakland, well, now Las Vegas Raider fan. And there's nothing wrong with not collecting everything. I asked myself that. And as I started to realize back in 2010 and 2011, and I was buying into group breaks online, and I was buying boxes at the LCS, and I just ended up with so many cards I didn't want. I'm like, what am I doing? Why do I have all of this stuff that I'm never going to pursue completing? These insert sets or these complete sets. I just really want the A's cards. And that's how I was able to narrow down my PC. It works for Ben, and that's all. But the idea of this particular video is helping you out there hopefully answer some of those questions for yourself, because only you are going to be able to answer those for yourself. Don't worry about what anybody else is collecting. And again, I'm using myself as an example of how I was able to work through some of this stuff to determine what worked best for me. I've had some friends recently that have come to me and said, hey, help. Okay, well, we need to ask these questions. What sport's your favorite sport? Do you like cards from each sport, or is there one sport that kind of jumps ahead of the others? Maybe that's the sport you should focus on. Do you want to focus on just one team, a collection of teams, specific players? Do you like the hot new rookie, the hot guy coming up out of the minor league system that the whole hobby is going nuts over? Or do you prefer taking a step back and saying, I really like this veteran that might be underappreciated and undervalued? Somebody say like a Nolan Arenado of the Colorado Rockies, somebody that the hobby doesn't value and appreciate as much as his Hall of Fame career trajectory might suggest. Paul Goldschmidt being another one. There's quite a few examples of guys who the hobby is kind of left behind in pursuit of the hot new flavor of the week. And that's okay. You can like whatever you want. You can collect whatever you like, and you don't have to keep it. Once I've decided I'm an A's fan, it doesn't mean I can't go collect cards outside of that PC. I just have to ask myself, if I'm taking a finite amount of financial resources and spending things that aren't Oakland A's cards, am I okay with that? Because the way I look at it is I'm spending Oakland A's money on something else. Topps Living came out a couple of years ago, and I was like, I really like some of these cards that are not A's. But at $5 a card, if I buy 100 of these over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, I've spent $500 additional dollars that could have been used to further pursue my A's PC. Am I okay with that? And I chose yes. I'm okay with that because I'm taking that $500 and spreading it out over a 3-year window. And again, that's what you're going to have to ask yourself. Is that okay? Am I okay with this? Do I want to pursue this versus that? Because oftentimes you're going to have to make a choice for financial reasons. It would be great if we were all in a position where we could afford anything and everything we wanted, but that's just not reality. So if that's the case, we really need to, decide and narrow down our PC to what we really can afford, but what we really truly enjoy at the end of the day. Because there's no right or wrong, and sometimes you're going to want to pivot. I've decided to start pursuing this because this now interests me. I like the Topps Living. We're right in the thick of Project 2020, which has a lot of people excited, has a lot of people not so excited. Some people are collecting because they love the artwork, a specific artist or a specific player, and they like the reimagination that these artists are pursuing. And that's not wrong. It's okay to like it or say, I can't stand this. Because it is art. And at the end of the day, that's really what it is when we have, this is a hobby. Above anything else, it's a hobby. And the definition of a hobby is something we do for relaxation and for our leisure. And it's not considered our main occupation. Therefore, there is room to make money in this. But But then, there's a line that you can cross there too, where a hobby thus becomes a business if you start pursuing it, as a secondary job. And I'll save that maybe for another video on another day. But the thing is, it's supposed to be cathartic. It's supposed to be fun. We want to enjoy this not just with ourselves, but with our friends. And that's why Twitter and for those that like Facebook or Instagram, it's okay because the hobby really has went online. You know, the day and age of the brick and mortar LCS it's dying a slow death, and that business model might not be around as we know it 5-10 years from now. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it is. We all love going to the LCS and seeing what's new and getting that instant gratification. I'm going to buy this box of cards even though it's 30% markup. Why? Because I can literally sit here in this LCS right now and open up this box of cards and enjoy it with whoever else is here. Or I can take it home and enjoy it myself or with my children and my family. The choice is yours, right? But I really think when you're trying to decide what your PC is, ask yourself some questions. And it can be about, do I want to collect a sport? Multiple sports, multiple teams or one team, multiple players, or do I want to focus on one specific player? And then to what depth you want to go with that team or that player. I just want base cards of the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Pittsburgh Penguins. I only want to collect Cincinnati Bengals cards. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Or I don't want base cards and insert cards. Those do nothing for me. I only want autos or autos and relics, or I only want color cards, which would be parallels and serial numbered parallels. It's okay. But you're going to have to ask yourself, how far do I go down that rabbit hole with my specific PC? And of course, the deeper you go down that hole, the further you stretch your PC, the more associated cost you'll find yourself with. And for some budgets, that very well might be comfortable. Maybe you're able to buy collections and sell off the excess and create a self-sustaining hobby, which pays for itself, which is fine. Again, there's no right or wrong way. But to define your PC is very, very individualistic. And it's something that makes you and you alone happy. Think about watching a movie or reading a book. You're not going to read a book because everybody else is reading that book. It might not be a genre that you like. It might not be a writer that you like. Consider looking at up a list of the top 10 television shows of all time as rated by, an independent group or as rated by a website where everybody that's ever watched TV shows could go on there and rate them individually. You look at that top 10 list and you say, I don't like any of that. That's okay. Maybe you don't even like TV all that much, and that's okay. But you say, I love this show so much. Even if nobody else really likes it, I will watch this all day long, every day, over and over and over, while other people are off enjoying other programs. That's your show and you like it, and that's okay. And that's kind of how you have to look at the hobby as well. Just because other people are collecting this and that doesn't mean you have to. You can. But understand, if that's what makes you truly happy, doing what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is collecting, great. But if you find a PC that makes you happy, it's your hobby and your hobby alone, and you really should focus on that by yourself. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video at under 20 minutes. I'm going to try to do all of the videos as I move forward under 20 minutes. I'm going to try to come out with videos, as topics come into my head, maybe consistently, I don't know. But if you do find this video, I really appreciate you spending 20 minutes with me and hearing my thoughts on how to define a PC. You're always welcome to reach out to me at Ourtradingcards on Twitter. You're always welcome to comment here as well, and I'll be happy to walk you through some of my thoughts and experiences. And again, if I don't have those answers for you, I might know somebody that has them and might be able to redirect you towards finding that pursuit of that answer that you're after. So I would really like it if you would like and subscribe. And if you have any thoughts on any subjects that you would like me to speak on in the future, I would be happy to oblige. So take care, happy collecting, and I hope to see you again here soon.